Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is the video I don't really want to do, but we must do. How did Ole Gunnar Solskjaer get it wrong, so wrong, tactically against Arsenal and Arteta? And what did Arteta do to nullify Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactics in what was a very good win for Arsenal? We'll be looking at that. We will be using, of course, the tactics board to go through it as well. But before we get into that, I just want to give a big shout out to Surfshark, who are sponsoring the video today. Surfshark is a VPN, a virtual private network. One of the things best about Surfshark is their data protection services, making sure my private messages, photos, videos and other sensitive material is well protected. But my personal favourite thing about Surfshark, the feature that I really like is, and I think the thing you'll most be interested in, is that you can change your location on Netflix and other location-specific streaming services, so you can watch them from anywhere in the world using the Surfshark VPN. You can use Surfshark across as many devices as you like, even if they're used at the same time. And it's available on every device you can think of: Android, iOS, Linux, Amazon, Fire TV. I could go on, but I think you get the picture. And because Surfshark are super nice, they're giving away to United Stand viewers 83% off and 3 months free when you use the code United Stand. Link, as always, is in the video description. Thanks again to Surfshark, and now let's get on with the video. And look, looking at the picture on the left, that is the team that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer picked against Arsenal. And that is the first thing here. And I know Martial couldn't play, but I've heard a lot of things about how Solskjaer got it wrong, playing the diamond against an Arsenal side that was going to use width. And I'll blow that out of the water in a moment, because he didn't get the formation wrong. It was the personnel that he got wrong. And when you look at it there, I mean, look at that team there, right? And then look at what I'm going to do and tell me that this didn't have a huge impact on the game. You've got Scott McTominay playing as the right-sided box-to-box player, and you've got Fred holding the midfield. Now, if I did this, if I show you this, and I said, look, this is where Fred played the other day, and this is where Nemanja Matic played, and that both of those players could have played that game against Arsenal, then, I mean, it's there for you. Do you think that that team, with Matic and the maturity he's got in that CDM role, and Fred on the right side of the midfield in the position that he's been good in, forget what you think about Pogba, and forget about the isolation of Bruno and Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford, and just look at that team with Matic holding the midfield and Fred in the box-to-box role. That dynamic of that midfield changes straight away. We basically gave the midfield to Arsenal, and that is on the manager. He put McTominay and Fred in there and swapped their position and benched Matic, and it totally destroyed any platform for Manchester United to build on. And as I move on to the most important screen here, how did Arteta counter this? And you can see very, very quickly that if I that's Tierney, that's Gabriel, and that's Holding. So they've got 3 defenders up against 2 strikers. So they never got in a situation where they were 2 for 2. But then what they did is, you've got El Nini and you've got Partey, and you can swap them around. I don't want to go too deep on Arsenal because I'm not an Arsenal fan. But basically, as Paul Pogba said, they went man for man in the midfield. They've got Xhaka, who pulled in on Scott McTominay and dominated him, to be honest. There was even an occasion where Tierney was so confident, he went past McTominay and carried on past him. Like, they absolutely dominated that left-hand side. You've got Bellerin, who attached himself to Pogba and neutralised him. And obviously El Nini and Partey, they just went man for man with Bruno and with Fred. And they dominated that midfield. They pressed us high up the pitch. And the one thing that I really noticed from Arsenal is that when they got close to our box, there was lots and lots of people in and around their box. And that's because they had Aubameyang here, who was around the box, Lacazette, Willian, but then also Xhaka was encroaching in there. Partey was encroaching in there. So they were getting 5 people onto the edge of the box. Now, when Manchester United attacked, it was pretty much Rashford, Greenwood, maybe Bruno, and sometimes Pogba. As the home team, we were maximum getting 4 players onto the edge of the box. Sometimes, most of the time 2, sometimes 3. Arsenal in this system are ready to break. They've got 3 forwards, and they've got Xhaka and Partey, and sometimes Bellerin. I mean, Bellerin won the penalty in their box. They advanced up the pitch, and he dominated us from back to front. They were they had 3 to our 2. Our 2 forwards, they had 3. In the midfield, they went man for man. And then up front, they were 3 against 4. And it felt throughout the game like Arsenal had an extra player. And what they did quite easily was just nullify Manchester United. And I'm sure when Arteta saw McTominay playing, he was like, we're going to be the more attacking team. Because if you take McTominay out of that team and you put Fred's well used to doing that. And Matic is well used to taking the ball off the back foot and playing a pass up here and up here and up here and up here. But with Fred in that role and McTominay here, McTominay just got drawn into being more like a central defender. Fred, obviously, that was his role. And Arsenal were just able to swamp. And instead of us playing a diamond, we actually ended up playing a very, very defensive structure. And Arsenal felt like they had an extra person all the time. They were well stacked if we even attacked. They had somebody on Bruno, somebody on Pogba, and they were able to swarm our back five, which actually became a back six with McTominay. The scary thing is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer never changed this, because it was so evident in the first half that Arsenal were swarming. They were man-to-man, but they were swarming us. And they were creating chance after chance after chance. And the fact that it was 0-0 at half-time was just pure luck. You know, Arsenal should have at least gone in at 1-0. And the fact that he sent that same team out in the second half shows a real naivety and fear from the coaching setup at Manchester United to change it. But as I go back to this part, the change was there on the bench. You're allowed to make 3 substitutions, and that change in the that should have been the team that started, but that change in the second half could have made such a difference. It would have allowed us to push further on. Now, people say, well, you know what? You should never play a diamond against the team that's playing width because Arsenal were playing with a back 5 and they've got 3 up front. This is absolute nonsense if you play the team correctly. Now, we spoke about it. We spoke about it after the Leipzig game. Now, unfortunately, I've got Scott McTominay here, but I'm sorry, you're straight to the bench. McTominay goes to the bench. Fred comes in here. Matic comes in here. Bruno's more attacking. Now, you don't need to worry about the width, because if the diamond moves across and does its job, as it should do, then width isn't a problem. Whether it's Bellerin going down that forward, Matic, Fred tucking in, Bruno tucking in, you've got your diamond. I think the big problem with United is that the diamond never moved in sync. It never had the fluidity of what it had against Leipzig. It was, as I said, if Matic is Fred and McTominay's there, it became very much like this. It just didn't. I mean, it's sort of a diamond, but it's more of a square. You've got to have your midfielder pushing forward, and you've got to leave your CDM with the confidence to pass the ball out from there. And we never had that. And it's totally, look, of course it's on McTominay and of course it's on Fred. But the fact remains, he totally and utterly picked the wrong starting 11 and he never rectified it. Even when he made his substitutions, he didn't rectify the mistake. Instead of bringing Matic on for McTominay and switching Fred to the box-to-box role, what did he do? He takes Fred off and leaves McTominay on. And then, obviously, he takes Bruno off and brings Van der Beek on. And he never corrected it. I mean, that's the team that finished the team. We never saw, at no point at all, did we see the midfield 4 that we saw against Leipzig. We didn't see Matic, Fred, Pogba and Bruno on that pitch for 1 minute. And that was the biggest mistake of the game. It was never there. It started off with Fred and McTominay and Pogba and Bruno. It then went to Matic, McTominay, Pogba and Bruno. And then it ended up with Matic, McTominay, Pogba and Donny van der Beek. We never saw Donny van der Beek on the same pitch as Bruno. And we never saw that Matic, Fred, Pogba, Bruno 4 that we saw that worked so well against Leipzig. So, I mean, ultimately, it's very difficult to look at a game tactically when you know you got it so badly wrong. But from a Manchester United fan perspective or from an Arsenal fan perspective, it was so easy for Arteta to dominate Solskjaer's starting lineup. And it goes back to what many of you are saying. If you don't send out the right team, you weaken your chances of winning a game. And he didn't send out the team, especially that midfield. I know we missed Martial, but we could never really judge Rashford and Greenwood. And I don't think Greenwood's got the positional sense to play as a front 2 yet. And Cavani's not got the fitness. So we have missed Martial. But let's not pretend that Martial changes that game. As I said this morning, it wouldn't have changed the game. The reality is it was the way he sent his midfield 4 out. And he never put the midfield 4 out that he did against Leipzig. And he never did it when he made his subs either. And it's totally on Solskjaer. He lost the midfield battle and that allowed Arsenal to swarm us. And they did. And it was wave after wave. And yeah, they won it by a penalty. But realistically, if they were more clinical, they should have won it by more. We were very lucky to only lose 1-0. And the bottom line from this game is that Solskjaer got it wrong. He never rectified it to get it right. And something is in his head that's very, very worrying, that he changes a team that worked so well against Leipzig and never puts it out for a minute against Arsenal, no matter how bad it was getting. He never saw the warning signs, and he went into a game naively thinking that there is no justification for bringing Scott McTominay in, and there is no justification for moving Fred from his position to a CDM. It was almost footballing suicide to do it. There was no logic to do it. He didn't need to do it. Nobody was injured. No one was carrying an injury. We've just won 5-0 against one of the better teams in Europe, and he changes the team. And I'm sorry, this is what is going to get him the sack, is because he doesn't put his best team out. Against Leipzig, he puts a team out that's got his best players in a system that works. Against Arsenal, which is arguably a more important game because we're playing catch-up in the league, he changes the team that's done so well for a weakened team with risks. This is why he lost this game. Tactically, he lost the game because he made bad decisions, and Arteta annihilated those bad decisions by dominating the game, going box to box, going man to man, and getting players in and around our box. And we had no answer. We played very defensive. There was a defensive strategy. It's taken me a few hours to get over this. But the reality is, when you look at this team, and I go back here, the tactical mistake was not Matic. Matic didn't even play. It was McTominay who played here, and it was Fred who played there. So let's take Matic off. Sorry, Donny, you're always on the bench. There's no point bringing you on. The way we approached this game, we very much ended up like this all the time. Very, very defensive. We were at the home team and we played like we were at the Emirates. He went with a defensive approach because he thinks when he plays Fred and McTominay, in a sentence, he plays Fred and McTominay to protect Maguire and Lindelof. And if people don't understand this yet, you need to wake up to it. He loves playing Fred and McTominay because they provide the defensive support for his centre-backs who are inadequate. And this is why Manchester United, after 100 games under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, are still against the perceived top 6 playing defensive football because he doesn't trust his centre-backs. And it was a defensive display, and that's why Arsenal looked like they were so attacking, because he went defensive and didn't have the confidence to go with what he did against Leipzig. Thanks everyone for watching. Get your comments in below. Big shout out to Surfshark. Please download it. 30% off. 83% off and 3 months free. Links in the video description for that. We're back on the 8 o'clock show with Beth and Ricky and Kev and lots more discussion. But tactically, it's all there. So thanks for watching.